Hi.
Hi, guys.
Welcome to another episode of Witches and Wine. I am your hostess with the mostest, Lola Stardust. And on Witches and Wine, we like to talk about witchy stuff, magical stuff, and we like to drink wine.
That we do.
Wow. Anyway, so before we start our episode, I'm going to turn this over to Silenus, and he's going to explain what we're drinking, which is actually not a wine today, right?
Well, it is a wine.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Mead is a honey wine.
Okay.
But, thank you, sweetie. Tonight we're drinking mead, a hopped mead from Hierophant. It's out of Mead, Washington.
Mead for mead.
It kind of works out nicely in that sense.
I know. It's mead.
Very nice, off-dry, little bit of dry hops in there. Gives it a refreshing taste at the end. Very sweet, just like the way you want a mead. The reason we chose with the mead tonight is one of our guests tonight is from the Norse background, and mead being very popular with them. I thought that was kind of be appropriate for him.
He's our heathen friend.
Yeah, he is.
He's a heathen.
But we like him.
But we like him anyway.
So I'm going to go ahead and step out now, and here he comes in.
All right, thanks, sweetie. Scoot on in here, Derek. We have to get close. This is our friend Derek. He's actually a husband. He's the husband of one of our coven members, Isleen, Danielle.
She used to have two, but we took care of that guy.
Oh, yeah. We don't know where he's at. He's in the backyard. Oh, that's right. We can't tell him. We don't know where he's at, police officers. So anyways, welcome to the show, Derek.
Well, thank you.
I'm so glad you're here. This is so exciting, and we get to drink some yummy mead. Did you bring your mead with you?
Yes,
You
I
want to
did.
clink and drink? Any excuse to clink and drink? We're going to talk about animism. And for those of you that may be watching these videos and learning new stuff for the first time, could you explain what animism is, Derek?
Well, sure. Animism. Honestly, it doesn't really matter what belief system. I mean, I know if you're Christian, the Bible's the source, right? But no, animism is kind of where it all begins.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of this innate understanding we have, even if we seem to have moved away from it and try to deny it nowadays, that there really aren't any things out there. It's not people and things, it's just everything's a being.
Yeah.
Whether it's a
Everything has
tree or
energy.
your car or
Yeah.
the boat you sail on, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's all...
It's got a spirit. It's got,
Yes.
yeah.
Spirit's the word that most people use.
Yes.
Whether it's a spirit of a place or, that great ship that we called whatever female name usually that held on even though it should have sunk a long time ago. Things like that.
There you go.
It's kind of where the idea of reciprocity comes from, which is the basis of most belief systems. I think the Romans called it do ut des, which is I give so you can give.
Oh. That sounds kind of dirty, too.
It kind of does. If you say it in
But
a
it's-
German accent, it sounds scary. But
Like everything does in a German accent. Sorry.
yes, I think that might be the point.
My dad is German, and he's scary. So, there we go. Well, it was interesting. We were earlier talking about how animism is not just a pagan belief. It's a belief of just people who don't even know what animism is or don't understand that concept. We still name our cars, and
Anybody who has ever spent an hour pleading and begging with a copy machine understands.
Yes, and you have to be nice to your car or nice to the copy machine, and either you talk, like I was telling you earlier, I had a car where I would just rub the dash and who's a good girl, so she would start, and it was a she too. I mean, because she's a she. So, yeah. So even if you aren't pagan or Wiccan or whatever, I think everybody's done that with something. We assign an identity, a personality to what we would consider in the mundane world as inanimate objects. But in our magical world, what did you say? There are no such thing as things?
Everything is just a being.
Yeah.
We're in a world full of... I mean, gods are just kind of on the top spectrum, but you could really say we're just in a world full of gods.
Yeah.
It's... Modern thinking has us separate the world into two parts, and it doesn't really matter if you're atheist or Christian, because in modern society, basically, that just is a matter of whether you believe in God or not, because they're all pretty much Christian.
Yeah.
It's just, culturally, that's the way it is. So what you have is this idea that the world is this mechanical thing, and nature is completely mechanical, we just don't understand it. And then there's humans, and we're weird. Well, the only thing really odd about us is that we think we're so much more special than anything else.
Yeah. Because we are, damn it. No, but you're right. It's the nerve, honestly, the nerve of us to think that.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Okay, so your standard atheist argument is going to be, show me something that I can prove time and time again works, and animism is it. I don't care if it's the tree in your yard, the car in your garage, if you give it what it needs, it will give you what you need in return.
Absolutely.
Every time. And it's verifiable, you can do it over and over again. It's extremely scientific.
Yeah.
In that regards. So it's something we often forget about. But when we're talking about gods, we're just talking about, let's call it, the largest and most powerful beings we can, in any practical sense, relate with.
Yeah.
You know, much like, okay, sure, if everything has a spirit, what about the bacteria? What about, there's a practicality issue there. I can't worry about that. I can't really relate to bacteria.
But there's people that do worry about that, obviously, or they wouldn't have asked that question. So
sure.
It's kind of
there are Buddhist monks who won't hurt a fly.
Jainism.
You know, there is Jainism, and it's...
because of that
It's
thinking.
an interesting way to go, but I don't know in all practicality what it does for any of us.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't attribute, I don't ascribe to those beliefs.
Yeah. Because then you'd really have to, get pretty darn dissecting every little minuscule thing. And people that can do that and live clear, that more power to them. I just wouldn't be able to do that. So, do you have any idea or theory or whatever about how animism started? Who do you think the first people on the planet lived that way because that was all we had? Because we didn't have inanimate objects, we had nature, so they had to believe there was spirit in nature. So when we first started getting quote unquote things or material things, who do you think started assigning that? Yes, our cars do have personalities, and yes, you pick your chalice because it speaks to you, or like we were talking, your deck of cards that you play with, your tarot cards. There's an energy, but these are inanimate objects. These are books, things. When do you think people started? And why?
I think in a very real way, animism is not proscriptive in the way that a lot of other theological systems are. It's just describing observations. It's kind of our natural state. As children, we make these associations and we're corrected by society constantly.
We're told that, that's just your childlike imagination,
but when you walk into a place and you get this sense of just the place itself, or you look at a piece of art or anything of that sort.
That's good art. I like that.
There's a spirit there that you can sense. There's something about that place, a quality, And, Plato talks plenty about this, and I'm not well enough versed in Neoplatonism to really speak in that direction, but it's, I think he called them forms, but it's still the same sort of thing. There's a spirit of place, there's the spirit of what we would call a thing, like a ship or a car, or, there's kind of this thematic spirit that is sort of involved in symbolism that we all understand. A lot of people refer to these as archetypes, but we understand the symbolism behind motherhood and fatherhood and those sorts of things, and we can sense that in others.
Yeah.
Innately. It's not something that you can pinpoint exactly why in every instance.
You just feel it.
So it's kind of natural theology. Animism is the basis of natural theology. It is just the idea that this is how we relate to the world. I mean, sure, scientifically we know that the sun doesn't revolve around the earth. Now the moon does, so we were half right. But that's not what we experience. What we experience when we look up is the sun traveling across the sky. And so that's what we speak of. And that's the relation that we experience with the sun, regardless of what we know to be the truth.
Yeah. Sorry, I feel like we're cutting bodies off here.
I think part of the problem we have as pagans in general, it doesn't really matter if you're a witch or if you're a druid or whatever you're calling yourself. The problem we have is that we get so caught up in trying to suspend the disbelief that has been kind of force-fed to us, rather than understand that modern society has one set of language and one way of looking at everything. And that is that everything's a machine, except for people. Although now there are some who are trying to say that people are deterministic machines as well.
Yeah.
But
we could do another show on that.
Yeah, we could.
Well, let me ask you something. I don't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, no.
But, so, do you also maybe think, because I started thinking about this, we had an episode of Spellcraft with your wife, and she was, and I think this ties in, she was talking about when you create things and make things, you put your intent in it. So, quote unquote, again, inanimate objects, like this table that this is sitting on, was created by someone that has a backstory and an energy, and we don't know if they were just making it just to make a living, or we don't know if they were making it and putting a part of their blood, sweat, and tears and spirit into it. Doesn't that also kind of cause the belief of inanimate objects having a spirit because of what was put into it? Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
I mean...
Yeah, okay.
Historical swords comes to mind.
And what's historical swords?
The ones that were made that had particular characteristics. They were made by a craftsman that was known for making very good blades. But this particular sword had whatever thing that was become attributed to it. I mean, we all know about Excalibur, don't we?
Yes, yeah.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
What was Excalibur?
Yeah.
At the basis, it was just a sword.
Yeah, but there was so much more.
There's more to it.
Yeah. So does that make sense? So that's maybe creates that also a sense of animism is that every object has a story, has a spirit put into it, has, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the hard part when you're looking at folklore from the ancients is that these folks lived in the same place for hundreds of generations. And every rock, tree, stream, river, mountain had a story.
Has a story.
It had a name, it had a story, and only the locals really knew them. And, you know, part of it is like, I mean, this table right here that you're talking about,
it's manufactured, probably.
In a very real sense. It may have been manufactured, it may be mass-produced, most likely.
Yeah.
But, you know, on a physical level, it's also the bodies of our ancestors turned into something else. I mean, we all come from the same stuff.
That's
We're all
so pretty.
made
That's
of
beautiful.
the same stuff.
Yeah.
And when we die,
we go back to the...
we go back into the blender, basically.
Yeah.
and as far as our bodies go...
The
and
primordial soup, yeah. The
that's
ooze.
what happens.
Yeah.
And so... it's not like we go anywhere. We're still here, just...
in other objects and...
in a different form.
Yeah.
And so... I think it's important for everyone to try and realize that you can still see everything as material and sort of this dualism of material and spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to realize that it's also okay to look at everything as spiritual. And the material is simply
a shell?
Let's say a form.
Yeah.
A form of expression for that.
Okay.
And this isn't an unuseful way to look at it.
So aren't we kind of just a form for a... I mean,
Our
if you...
bodies themselves.
Well,
our bodies themselves are...
Let's go full scientific here.
Let's get
You
scientific.
are a mass of trapped energy.
Yeah.
And what makes you you?
Okay, now we're getting all philosophical because there's this,
every cell in your body has been replaced in the last 30 days.
Yeah. So what makes me me?
There is no original cell in your body. So what makes you you? That's what we don't understand, and everybody wants to pretend we do. It's all mechanical, deterministic. It's like this, like that, but
that's really that's like philosophical. Who am I? What makes me me? That.
Well, we're self-aware and we have this idea of
who we are, but is it really who we are?
Not generally. That's kind of how myth works.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way our brains work.
Yeah.
A myth is what we do. I have an idea of who my wife is, and that's a myth because it's not real. It's close enough that I get by. But you're going to have a completely different view of her.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And the guy down the street's going to have a completely different view of her.
Yeah.
Or he better keep your shirt on.
I was going to say, well, if she'd stop running around naked for the guy down the street.
But I mean, the point is that we I don't know if this is even a word, but we mythologize. Mythologize everyone.
Maybe we made a new
and
word
a lot
today.
of other things.
Yeah.
And even if I was to tell you I love my wife, all I'm really telling you is sort of a shorthand. I'm trying to share my view of her, but love is different for different people.
Yeah.
So all you're going to do is automatically replace that with what your version of love is.
What my version is.
And it may not be accurate.
Yeah. It won't match. It may not match yours.
Yeah.
Most likely it
be
won't.
close enough for us to be like, yeah, that's the same thing.
Yeah,
So what we run into is language is so imprecise. We use myth as a way of hopefully relating understanding in a relational sense, not a descriptive. It's not a story. It's not a historical account.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about the gods doing this, but we use kennings and things like that where we talk about, Jotun's Bane slaying Jormungandr. Okay, okay, that's great. So we're talking about Thor killing the world serpent in Ragnarok, but why are we using poetry? Well, that's because it's not exact. It's not this idea that this happens in this order and this is the way it is. That's not even what the stories about the gods are about, in my opinion. The stories are about how things relate. You have what a lot of people call the Norse creation story, where Odin and his two brothers slay Ymir, the giant, and form the world.
All over the world, yeah.
What does that story actually tell us?
That we were really drunk when we made up creation stories.
That's pretty awesome. and likely somewhat true. But no, I mean, it tells us ultimately that we all are made of the same stuff.
Exactly, yeah. That is so true. And to me, that is such a beautiful belief. If you truly practice that and believe it, you live forever. You never really die. And that is a very much pagan belief of not just reincarnation, but we're always here, like you were saying. We're always here. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I say so. We may not, our physical form may not be there, but we're there.
Our matter is, or not matter. Our pixie essence. I was gonna say pixie dust.
Well, nothing's destroyed. Everything just changes form.
Yeah, essence, and
It's. I don't know what happens after death, and I doubt anybody who claims they do. But I don't really care. That's the one guarantee. I'll die. We're all going to die. That's going to happen, whether I worry about it or not.
Yeah.
So why bother?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's interesting to think about, if we were just a little bit more animistic, do you think we would have shit on this world as much as we have?
Right? And that could be yet again a whole other...
And that...
Ziggy, stop it.
I think it's because animism informs the world-embracing nature of pagan religions.
Yes.
We're not looking to go somewhere else or become something better.
Yeah.
We're just looking to make what we have better than it is. And that is the beauty of it.
Yeah.
I'm not looking to go to some heaven or anything of that sort. If that's what happens, great.
Yeah.
But I would rather that those who come after me get a world better than the one that I got.
Well, absolutely. We want to leave our children too.
And
just even our children who are of this, we are with them, we want to leave a better world behind. And I think that by teaching our children that everything has a spirit, hopefully they will then take better care of what we leave behind, because we don't want to kill that spirit.
They can only benefit by
benefit by
doing so.
Exactly.
I hope that, even if
Animism will cause world peace.
I severely doubt that.
It could if we all really thought about it and realized that you're killing a soul when you cut the trees down, and we could just change that way of
life
thinking.
That we need to, though,
yes,
but we have to.
I know. I understand that.
Gauge.
I'm not going to complain about them building the Costco down the street from the other Costco, and they cut down all these beautiful trees to build a Costco. How many miles away? Not even a mile, 2 miles.
3 miles.
I'm not
3 miles away.
That far.
Sorry, I'm because I have to complain about it somehow because it pisses me off.
Everything living kills other living things to sustain
itself. You're right, and we have
whether we're talking about plants or animals. I mean, vegetarians
or people building Costco's down the street from each other. Yeah,
but we have to actually, if we value life and the existence of other beings that aren't the same of us, then perhaps we won't be wasteful.
Exactly. And that is actually wonderful food for thought, and we could go on and on about this, but I wanted to see if anyone had any questions in our studio audience. Any questions?
You were mentioned earlier how everything has its essence, spirit, basis of animism. Now, do you think that's more so if we're talking about a manufactured item, whether it was made by hand or if it was mass produced?
Well, like we were talking about the table.
Well, that's an interesting question. I mean, if you really want to get down to the nitty-gritty, you could argue that every singular atom has its own spiritual quality. And
so, the atoms that form that chair over there.
But we're only able to really concern ourselves in a pragmatic sort of sense with this. So it has to be practical. And I think that this is why some mass-produced things feel
different,
just almost dead, and others are your favorite because they work better for you. And so there's this sort of...
But do you think objects... Oh,
let's say it's like a colony. I mean, that's what we are. We're billions of living cells, single living organisms. And there's sort of this, what do you call it?
You're sinking to the corner.
Sorry.
You're slowly disappearing.
That's just because I'm slouching, because
It's
I have
okay.
a bad back.
I know, me too. We're like this.
There's sort of a certain level of integration that seems to happen sometimes that isn't universal, especially mass-produced items for some reason.
But can I add to that real quick?
Yes.
Don't you think then, like we're talking about this table,
Yeah.
don't you think if this table was mass-produced and just didn't really have that feeling, but because it's been in this house, will pick up a whole different energy? That can be a part of animism too.
Oh,
it
sure.
doesn't come because your objects are going to pick up when you come into a house, like you said, a place. It may not have had that feeling before because it may have been just some mass-produced house, and who knows who lived in it before. Maybe they never noticed, but then you get a couple of witches moving in, and they're like, the energy of this house, and we nurture it and bring it out, and so. You see what I'm saying? So, like, this table...
Start giving the house honey and mead.
Yeah. Like
Well,
the owners.
You know, like attracts like.
And we will bring out that.
And it's also sort of kind of something you see in humans. You see your community changes your identity. It changes how you are.
Yeah.
The people you associate with. So associations are very important.
Yeah. Thank you
even
for that question,
what we
honey.
would call objects, I would say.
Yeah.
It's hard because we're so hardwired to think of like this table as a thing. And we'll still treat it that way a lot of times because that's really, honestly, its purpose. But if we take care of it and if we treat it right, it'll serve us far longer than anything
Well, this
else.
has served as, for example, as makeshift altar many times before we got our new altar. This TV stand table we threw together with another one, and we put our magical items on it and spilled wax and oil.
And even though
it's,
that has happened, you've still taken care of it, so it's lasted you
yes,
a long time.
and it has a lot of spiritual energy in it and a lot of love in it. Oh, I'm going to kiss the table. Okay, no, sorry, that's not for this video. That's a whole different weird thing.
I think we need a separate channel for that. But, you know,
That's the meat talking.
Mead makes me want to make out with inanimate objects.
it's all right, you know. And that's the other thing we need to actually move away from, in my opinion, is the inanimate idea.
Yeah, and I'm saying
Because
that, and I was
there
saying
is
earlier, quote
nothing-
unquote.
There is nothing in the world that is still.
You're absolutely right.
Everything moves. Even at the atomic level, nothing is still.
all
So
vibrating.
we have a
That's
very
what she
biased point of view where we are the special ones, and in some ways we are
Stop
because we
switching
can
over.
affect reality in ways that other beings just don't have that option.
Yeah.
But that also means we should be the more responsible ones.
Yeah,
and
you
we
think.
kind of suck at that.
Yeah. Well, I hate to cut us short because we could go on and on, but we have short attention span viewers, and so I try to keep it on, 30 minutes max. So
Yeah, it's just the viewers.
not us at all, not me. Seriously, I don't have ADD. Oh, squirrel. Anyway, I want to thank you for being here. And you have so much information, and I think that's why you have a big skull, because you're holding a lot of information, and it's always very, you're such a good storyteller, the way you tell stories and stuff. I will always say that I first heard your bloat a few years ago, and that I was like just so excited. I just sat at that fire and just listened to you, and so I'm really
Thank you.
I'm really glad you're on our show, and you are welcome to come back. Thank you so much, and I want to thank all of you and thank our wonderful mead. I'm going to have another glass of this mead right now. And remember, if you want to be a guest on our show, or you have any questions about where do you get all this awesome wine, or how do you know so many cool things, then you can email us at I always forget it, and I have to look at you. Crossroads Coven. Crossroads Coven at gmail.com. Until next time, remember to always walk with the goddess and be kind to one another, and blessed be. Bye, everybody.